Hey, well, here we are in my favorite part, the workplace game bins. I love playing the games, and so will your kids. So let's take a look at game bins, kind of what's in them, what they're about, what they should look like. Here we go. All right, workplaces have guides, which includes differentiation for the teacher. So the guides are the directions, right? There's instructions for the teacher, instructions for the student. There's record sheets for the students, and those are the ones that I was telling you that you're going to have to reproduce for the kids to each have their own copy. And then there's sentence frame for students. You only need to have 3 for each game, and those sentence frames stay within the bin. There's student game boards, spinners, card decks, things like that. There's all these manipulatives that you need. Okay, workplace bins. There are 6 games for every unit. So what I recommend is that you prep 3 games for the beginning of the month, and then during the month you prep the other 3 games to finish out the month. And that kind of divides the labor in terms of getting these games ready to play. You're going to want to label your bins so that you know what game is inside them, and it makes it easier for students to know which game to grab to play independently. And then you're going to have labeled work areas in class. And way over here on the right is an example of like labels that you could use. Like if you wanted to use shapes, your groups could have the names of shapes, and you could put those shapes around the room. You could make them colored. Whatever helps to make the rotation of your math stations work a little more seamlessly. Try it. All right, each student's going to have their own place log, and here's an example of it being like inside a file folder. Now, if you have file folders, that's a great thing. If you don't have file folders, you can ask your academic coordinator for some, or your principal for some. If they don't have any, then ask for packets, the large envelopes that you could label and keep this stuff inside. This is what the students are going to keep their paperwork in. On the outside, you're stapling that month's workplace log. And so as they go from station to station, they're checking off those boxes, and any paperwork that you leave for them at those stations, they're putting inside there. If you're using the student books, some teachers like to tear the pages out, others like to leave them in the books. Obviously, the student book doesn't have to go inside that, but do what works for you. So students play each one at least like 3 times or 2 times during the unit. There's 3 check boxes, so the idea is 3. And if you're doing station rotations like the last ones, the last 3 have them working independently, have them working on computers, and have them working with you as the teacher. They may even check off more than those 3. Alright, so up above here I've got an example. This is personal practice. You can see the 3 check boxes. Students, when they complete this, like during a day, they're going to check one of the boxes. Tomorrow they might do personal practice again. They're going to check the next box. So it's really just like a personal portfolio of their work. So the workplace log, they're going to have their challenges, they're going to have their finished works inside it, and they can make it kind of their own. If they want to colorize the paper that's on the front, let them do that. That would be super cool. Well, you all know what a techie person I am, so workplace logs that deal with the computer activities, I'm all about that. And we're all about Map Accelerator. So just depends on what your school has as an offer. So this is fluency practice, right? And Google Classroom links can work here, where you can give them individualized work through their Google Classroom. If you have ST Math at your school, you want to have some ST Math time. Or if you have Map Accelerator, that's what you're going to use during this computer activity. If you have both, you can rotate it, or maybe even some days you can have 2 workstations that are both computer activities. It's really up to the teacher's discretion. So let's talk a second about the workplace log working with the teacher, right? That should happen quite often. I like to have one group working with me on almost every day that I'm doing small group work. So that information is data-driven. I'm able to do differentiation for my students, and I'm also able to measure growth. All right, so we're just talking about differentiation, and inside Bridges you're going to find, like, here's Unit 3 Workplace Differentiation Chart. So it gives you some ideas for how to differentiate your lessons. You're going to want to take a look at this. And every time a teacher asks me, how do I differentiate my work? I point them in this direction. And of course, another way to differentiate your work is through workplace sentence frames. So you're going to choose between sentence frame cards that best meet the needs for your students. And so you put a copy of these sentence frames inside the bin, and then your students are able to pull those out if they need them and use them. And let's establish some rules for play, right? Math workplaces use quiet voices inside, 6 people per place, cooperate, work with a variety of people, clean up right away when you hear the music or the bell or whatever. Keep track of where you have been so you know what your group rotation is, where you're supposed to go next. Set clear expectations for procedures and behavior with your students and practice those norms with them. And teachers, I highly recommend that you have designated space for your work bins. Like, see how these are down low where the students can get to them? You're going to want to have it so that your students are able to work independently. They can go get the bin, they can take it to their workstation, they can open it up, they can play with it. Sometimes you might have the stations all set up with the bins ready for them. But in time, the students should be able to do this for themselves. When they're done with it, they should put the bin away. Or maybe you have the first group pull out the bin and leave it for the next groups, but the last group cleans it up and puts it away. Whatever the classroom norms are that you want, just be consistent with it. And don't forget about digital workplaces. On the left there, you can see how to get to the digital display materials. You click Curriculum, Display Materials, or there's the Go to Digital Display Materials button that you can go to. This is located directly on the Bridges website. So, digital workplaces are accessible here. I'm going to give you the link when you get this slide deck. You'll be able to click that to go directly. It can be used for modeling. So if you wanted to put it up on the overhead so you can model it for your students, they can edit and save their work, changes from language in terms of English to Spanish if you have some issues around that, and interested pre-recorded workplace videos. If you're interested in doing that, you just click that button and it'll take you to a place where you can learn about recording videos, which is really cool because then you can see each student's work. Okay, so that's it for the workplace bins. Let's go on to the next video.